down here at the rally in Norwich. And don't forget, if you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, leave your comments down below, share.
Hello. Isn't this a great day? Yes. Are you in good voice?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, the first thing I would say, he's taking that in. Oh, that's good. Perhaps he's learning something. Anyway, sir, there's plenty of information here which we welcome you to read. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much those people who stood beside me, and Vernon Coleman and David Ike sent me immediate letters of great support, those people who stood beside me when I had that defamation game played upon me last week. As people may know, there were 3 cameras aimed at what was going on, but I was there for 45 minutes. What I said was reduced to 45 seconds and turned into a video in 37 different cuts with the order of what I said changed and a massive commentary from the commentator which converted what I said into a total lie to the opposite of what I said. Now, need I say more? Except if anybody wants to repeat the defamation, my solicitor says, ask them if they own their house. Okay. Now, I want to thank all the organisers, Jeff and Nigel, for example, and more, for this very important rally. Because what we've got to be clear about is this vax passporting is new segregation. It's a new segregationism. And it is actually the Nazification of society, creeping Nazification. And it is ironic indeed that the historic Murderers' Arms survived bombing in the Second World War and yet is now propagating a new Nazification of society. We urge the landlord to think again. Now, this vax passporting is a game of contagion fear. It is not about controlling a virus, it is about controlling you.
Go!
And we know what happened before the Second World War. The Jews were labelled as contagion. Society was drawn into 2, the contagious and the others. And the same is happening now. But of course, it's a lie then, and it is a lie now. And as a matter of fact, we know that when Bill Gates did experiments in Africa, the girls who were vaccinated died from other things other than diphtheria at 10 times the rate of the girls who hadn't been vaccinated. So their immune systems are being smashed, and in fact that means immediately the people who have been vaxxed themselves are contagion. That is the fact. Now, it doesn't mean they should be locked up. It means anyone who's ill has to be looked after by the NHS, which of course is busy not looking after people right now. And they go home or do whatever care they want. However, it's even worse than destroying immune systems. The jab itself is causing disease and death. Let us just look at the facts. In Iceland, for example, 93% of the population is vaxxed, and they've just had a huge upsurge in what they call the COVID cases. Well, symptoms, let's say. And we know the HMS Queen Elizabeth, where there's 100% vaxxed people on there, after 7 weeks at sea, loads of sailors, 100 sailors on the ship, have suddenly all got COVID. In complete isolation. So where did it come from? Did it drop out of the skies? Did it come out of the sea? Or was it innate in the jab itself?
Yes.
That is the answer. The jab itself is the source of illness, disease and death. And that means when the National Education Union are talking about compulsory vaccination for children, they are complicit in planned murder. That's what it means. And we will be going to the National Education Union this Thursday to demand an explanation and demand they drop their evil policy.
Go on, Piers.
Now, the jab is causing a surge, let's be clear. And it looks like it's about 2 months. There's an immediate surge in blood clots, of course, which is typically 2 weeks. But it looks like there's another surge, maybe 2 months. That means, given the extra effort the government did last month or so to jab people, there will be a surge in diseases and death at the end of August and the start of September.
Go on, Piers.
And they will say this is a new COVID and lock us all down.
Go on, Piers.
They have the plan spelled out. They control the data, they control the illness, they are intending to control you.
Go on, Piers. Freedom.
So what are we going to do? Well, I'll have to say, just to get the bigger picture, we've got to break all the legs of the New World Order. The legs of the New World Order, there's 4 legs. One is the COVID cop. Second one is the climate cop. And we'll say something about that in a second. The third one is the vax, physical, mental attack. And the fourth one is the 5G control towers, which are there to control, monitor everything you do, and the radiation from them is damaging. And every dog with 4 legs has a tail. The tail is the cashless society. We have to break that and support, well, not just Cash Friday, but cash every day.
Yes.
Freedom.
And to get the climate thing clear, we predicted ages ago, well, at least a year ago, that they would be using the climate com. It's a religious thing. If the VaxCom fails, they'll wrap in the climate com. Already, just yesterday, massive, absolute lies, propaganda about the coming destruction of the world due to carbon dioxide produced by man. Now, let's be clear. It is a complete lie. Thank you. As a fact, and you can download my scientific paper on weatheraction.com, and the fact is that carbon dioxide levels for 1 million years follow temperatures. The sea surface temperature changes, and that will emit CO2 when it's warmer to make more CO2. And there's a lag of some hundreds of years, in fact. But the reason for the high CO2 now is probably the medieval warm period after effect. So those are the scientific facts. The other scientific fact, which you can understand, why we know their theory is nonsense. They say extra mankind CO2 in the atmosphere, going up in the air, will give extra heat radiating downwards to you. Okay, that's what they say. Now look, up there, it's colder than down here. So their theory requires heat from a cold body to be moved to a warmer body, the surface. Now, does that make sense?
No.
It's like sitting in front of your kettle without plugging it in and waiting for it to boil. If it does boil, you can believe in man-made climate change. Okay, it is complete bullshit. And I challenge all those scientists in the Met Office and in Oxford University and in Imperial College to have a public TV debate on the climate COP.
Go, Piers. Freedom.
And well, along with it, another set of scientists have a public TV debate on the dangers of vaccination, especially to children.
Go.
They are fleeing from these debates 24/7. We know when we occupied His Master's Voice offices ex-offices in Oxford Street, when the police broke in, the first thing they took down was the notice calling for open debate on vaccination. And they left up stuff about Julian Assange. Now, they hate him like anything, but they hate our demand for fair and equal debate even more. This is the route to Nazism. So we have to break the four legs of the New World Order and the tail. And specifically, what are we going to do? Well, in every town, every city, we've got to build what I would call stay open unions, which is why I'm holding this piece of paper. The stay open union in any city is you get the shops and businesses who are going to stay open at the next lockdown to hang together, and individuals support them, lawyers support them. So if anybody comes with a council officer to a shop, then the crowd goes there and tells the council officer to buzz off, and when they serve the bits of paper, you either burn the bits of paper or argue about it in court. There's been so many court cases it will take 10 years to get to there anyway, and by which time we will have wiped out the New World Order and we will dismiss all the cases.
Freedom!
Oh, well, I'm advised to go and mention that camera, mention the posters up there to spin round. So if you have something to say or think about, do come down here and get some information, yellow card information. Okay, so what are we going to do? We've got to get across to people the jab is dangerous. The jab is causing disease and death. And there's the figures there. 60% of COVID, so-called official COVID deaths, are jab people. That's their figures, which they released on the day where Matt Hancock was groping the stupidest woman in the world. And that was a cover story to hide this. And you look into the figures, you're 3 times more likely to get seriously ill or die if you've been jabbed than if you haven't. So it's a stupid thing to do. So we've got to break the legs of the New World Order. We've got to build stay open unions everywhere, now. And when Boris announces, in the name of some scare story, that there's going to be a new lockdown, we take to the streets on that day.
Go, Piers! Freedom!
And we've worked to take action against all their institutions of oppression. The vac centres, the 5G towers, the police stations. We will be there to close them down and make them inoperable. We have to break the legs of the New World Order, leg by leg, to win. And if we don't, we lose and we have tyranny. So I would say our message is, as always, resist,
Defy! Do not comply!
resist, defy, do not comply, resist, defy,
Do not comply! Go,
Thank you.
Piers!
Thank you.
Freedom! Freedom!
Jump. I'm only 40.
Who used to do it?
So,